Quill.org is a web-based tool that provides personalized interactive writing and grammar activities for students and teachers. Quill features over 150 activities for students in grades 3 through 12, and these activities are all built for very specific pieces of the Common Core state standards, and there are individualized lessons for each of these standards. Quill is made up of 3 different writing apps: the Grammar, the Proofreading, and the Writer. And they all focus on English writing fundamentals. Students learn the concepts by physically typing out complete sentences that incorporate the intended word or grammatical device. Students are sometimes asked to proofread passages or correct grammatical mistakes. So in this example, in Quill Connect, students are being asked to combine sentences. And so the strategy of combining these sentences into a single sentence involves feedback from the website itself. As the students type into the box and hit the check your answer button, the website will provide them with examples and prompts guiding them towards constructing a better sentence. So in this example, students need to write about Nelson Mandela. If they write a run-on sentence, the program will recognize that and provide corrective feedback. Students are eventually going to be shown a model to help them understand the concept at hand. If they have missing punctuation, the program will ask them to update their punctuation. If they have a missing joining word, the program will again prompt them to add them. And the revisions are allowed to continue until the students produce a strong sentence, and then it will show them the most popular or common sentences. Another of my bag of tricks is something called DraftBack. It is an extension that you can add to Google Chrome, which allows you to play back the revision history of a Google Doc. So any document that you have editing control over, so something that your students have submitted or shared with you through Google Classroom, you as the teacher can play back their work. What that lets you do is basically look over their shoulder or inside their mind as they're working, literally making their thinking visible. So you can see the order in which they wrote the sentences, any of the corrections or revisions that they made, and when. It gives you a usage report. We can see the student working, whether or not they're editing and revising. So in this case, the student's actually manipulating and moving text between 2 different sections of the document. The other thing that DraftBack enables you to do is you can actually have the students screen capture their process. So students would run DraftBack on their own document, and then using screen capturing software, they can then narrate their own writing process and show you why they were doing what they were doing. DraftBack is a fascinating, if somewhat creepy, tool that allows us to gain insights into our students' writing. GoFormative.com is another one of my bag of tricks. Formative allows you to make interactive digital worksheets, or at least that's how I describe them. The reason it goes into the bag of tricks is because you can build up a library of activities on various topics that all incorporate reading, listening, and then responding. And so whenever you find yourself in a situation with either time to fill or a student who needs an activity that they can work on either at home or in your classroom, Formative is an excellent resource. In this particular activity on photosynthesis, I was exploring the idea of using both the L1 and L2 of my students, the majority of which speak Spanish. So in this case, our textbook series that we use in biology comes in 3 printings. The first is a strict English version, the second is a strictly Spanish version, and then the third is a foundations level English text that also incorporates many Spanish glossary entries and accommodations for L's. So what I did was I took the Biología book and I combined it with my biology book and created this assignment on photosynthesis. By having both texts above and below each other, students can compare the language between the two. They can also be made more aware of some of the cognates between the languages, and it also gives me an opportunity to speak in rudimentary Spanish, and they can correct me, and then I allow them to read in English, and we correct each other. I've also incorporated, in this case, a video from the Stanford Nature Center. That's our local nature museum. They happen to have a maple syrup program where the elementary students get to go, see them collecting the tree sap and then boiling it down to make maple syrup. One of the things I do during this lesson is I actually bring in some maple syrup and the students get to taste it. So we have a little bit of a cultural exchange. So in this case, I've provided the question in both Spanish and English, and depending on the student's level in the class or how recently they've joined us, I expect them to answer in English, but in some cases I will certainly allow them to respond in Spanish. This is not a bilingual course, it is an English class, and so the general expectation is to respond in English. Again, with formative, what's nice is you can provide images, video, and then text. So after students read through, they would then be expected to answer the question about what does the word nourishment mean. The multiple choice questions will auto-grade. So here I've indicated the correct answer is food. I can also set the website to either immediately show them whether they are wrong or right, and whether or not they're allowed to change their answer. As the name formative alludes, they heavily lean towards allowing the teacher to provide feedback, either in this case computerized or directly through a dashboard where I can see the students' work in real time. And by providing that feedback, students can correct their answers. So this is less of a test and more of a formative assessment in which students are allowed to work their way towards the correct answer. So here we see text, multiple choice, and images being provided. Students are also able to draw. So here we see a drawing canvas. Students can type, draw, and import images from the internet and incorporate them into their answer, which is also, again, fantastic for doing graphs or other mathematical equations that are difficult usually to do on the computer. And as I mentioned, while students are responding, I can see the live results as they come in. So in this case, student responses, and I can provide them feedback which will pop up on their screen in real time. When I'm done, I can view all of the class as a summary, and as a teacher, it provides me with a visual display of their completed work. And for my last bag of tricks, I am including Google Cardboard, which is a really cheap virtual reality headset. The cardboard itself, you can order from many different manufacturers. You can actually even print it out yourself and use an X-Acto knife. But in general, these things cost just a couple dollars for the cardboard itself. It has 2 plastic lenses in it, and then you use smartphones, either donated or, in the case of high school, the ones that they have in their pockets. You put the smartphone into the cardboard, hold it up to your head, and it turns it into a virtual reality headset. You then, as the teacher, use a tablet to control the class, so you can force them to look at a particular object at a particular time, or you can give them total freedom and they can just wander around the environment, like in this case the Great Barrier Reef or the Galapagos Islands. So it turns into a virtual reality headset, and then you can go exploring to hundreds of different places that they've loaded into this. The Arctic, the Great Barrier Reef, and you can put signposts where the students then would look at the different cultural artifacts if you go to Machu Picchu. And what's fabulous about it is we're always talking about realia. Well, in this case, it's virtual realia, in that you can take your students and have them engage in real language, looking at authentic virtual buildings. There is also a cardboard camera app that you can run on your phone that will allow you to create your own Google Cardboard virtual reality experiences.